There you go. There you go. Okay. All right. Welcome. Welcome. Welcome to um, another video. And today we are going to discuss the hot topic, which is the Chicago mother, okay, instructed her son to shoot a man who attacked her. Okay. And, there's been a lot of debate on Facebook, YouTube, you know, frauding the son for protecting his mother. And I see a lot of us are caught up in our emotions, right? Particularly black women, or what I would call Negro women, who are on social media raving about this young child killing a man who assaulted his mother. Now, here is what I want to know, right? In all of your over emotional reaction to what happened, was that mother thinking about her child? Was that mother thinking what she was going to do to her child? Hmm? So before you guys get up there and started applauding, yeah, 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 all this stuff in our condition over emotional uh, condition to when a black man is killed, all right? Ask yourself a question. What he did, was it, did it warrant him being killed? Okay? And since you hyena women out there want to clap and cheer, that's what he gets for putting his hands on a black woman. Where is that same outrage when a black woman do that or even worse to a black man? Where is that same outrage? Okay, so let's deal with some of the issues that I've had, that I have with this, and then these hyena males, right, who will get up there and cheer and say, "Yeah, that's what you get, bro." And let me ask you a question, okay? Would it not have been better if she had just stopped arguing with that man? You see, but a lot of you feminist black women out there will turn around and say, "Well, um, why can't she argue with him?" They seem to forget that men and women are different. Okay, and this is what the feminist movement have created in the minds of black women, thinking that these hyena women thinking that men and women are the same, right? Without understanding that, you know, when you see two men arguing, okay, particularly if they're heated, it's most likely going to end up in a fight. Okay, and if you're coming at a man with a masculine energy and you're a woman, then yeah, there is no, men shouldn't be arguing with women. That's feminine bullshit. All right, women should not be arguing with men because of a man's nature, his natural instinct. But you see, when these feminist black women align themselves with the state, with these white feminists, these white racists, to put black men in a lower position, in which now you have these feminine black women believing that they have power over black men as they see white people, the white racist structure, society, government, exerted a power over black men. They think that they can do the same. They believe that they can do the same, right? And the state has time and time again put these feminine black women out there who hate men, right? Who have become partners in same-sex relationship because they cannot coexist or cannot uh, be in a relationship in which they are cooperating with a man. They have to be on top of that man because white society and the white feminist movement have told them that they're at the top and we are at the bottom. And what they don't fundamentally understand is history. What they fundamentally don't understand is the psychopathology of the white feminist movement, the white racist men and women, that they are so eager, eager to join at the sake of destroying their community, their children. 80% of black children are raised in single parents' home run by black women. Yet you have these black women, the same one who are effeminizing their young boys, and so that when their male children become adults, male adults, they have no ability to control their emotions. They become hyena males. And then they will turn around and say that those very same men are soft or sissies, whatever they call. And I'm going to show you guys because I've been interacting on Facebook with certain posts, and you clearly see how these women behave and taking no accountability. And when you bring it up to them, when you say to them, who is raising these types of men? Who is raising these types of men? Then they want to call you names. As the Godfather said, these women avoid accountability like a plague. They deflect, they insult, they have the feeling to always want to be right, they're disagreeable, and they're masculine as heck. All right? That woman who told her son to shoot this man, and as the man left the restaurant, he's running away. She tells him to follow him and shoot him until he is dead. See, I have no problem with what this kid did because his mom told him to, so I can say, okay, fine. He shot once, shot the man. Okay? But at that point, when that man left, for her to tell her son to chase after him and shoot him until he's dead, that I have a problem with. And then wanted her son to now go and kill the woman who was laughing. That I have a problem with. And then you have these hyena males on Facebook, okay, who are now debating with me, telling me no, she did not. My dude, clearly she did. You can see it in the video. You can see where she's trying to take the gun away from the kid, her son, and he pushes her away. And she was going to walk back into the restaurant, probably to confront the woman who was laughing. But I want you to understand how these women have colluded with the state to wage their war on black men. Okay? And particularly on black children, black male children. See, while they're clapping and applauding, no one is thinking about the traumatic experience that this 14-year-old just went through of killing a man. His mother turned him into a stone cold killer. Okay, by telling him to chase after that man and to continue shooting until he's dead. He went from being protecting his mother to hunting. He become a 14-year-old predator to hunting this man, shoot him in the back until he's dead, and then try to get him to murder the woman that was laughing. But yet, no one is talking about that. No one is saying one word about that. Why? Okay, why? Why is no one saying anything about that? Okay, so for the hyena male who is telling me that I'm wrong, that that's not what she told him. Let's let's listen to exactly what happened. Again,
Custody charged with child endangerment after her 6-year-old daughter was found dead in their apartment.
oh, this is it's not the right video here. Let me pull up the right video. I had it here somewhere.
Meanwhile, today, a 14-year-old girl and a 19-year-old man.
Oh, it's another one. There you go. It should be. No. Well, I guess I must have closed the window on this. Let me, and this is something that I want to talk about too. Okay, so we're going to talk about a lot of things that's going on here, and I'm going to show you guys how they have colluded with the state to engage in detrimental behavior in which they are not being held accountable. And these are these hyena women, these European women, okay, in which they let me see if this is the give me a sec here. Need to find that video. Because it's really disheartening the disdain that these women have for black men. Okay. Yes, he assaulted her. I definitely don't agree with that. I don't condone that. But what she did to her son was appalling. And for you guys to uh, clap and make it as if this young boy, should be applauded for killing this man. Okay, it's really disheartening.
And a disturbing case unfolds in court. A mother accused of ordering her son to commit murder in a West Pullman restaurant. The mother and son are now charged, both of them. Elizabeth Matthews joins us now with more on this developing story. Elizabeth? Yeah, Natalie, that mom who's accused of giving those shoot-to-kill orders is now being held on $3 million bail. Parts of that shooting were actually captured on this restaurant's surveillance video, which helped the witnesses identify the suspects to police. So this all happened Sunday night, police tell us, just after 11 o'clock, about 11:05 p.m. 35-year-old Carlisha Hood and her 14-year-old son arrived at the Maxwell Street restaurant on South Halstead at 117th. Hood went in for food. Her son waited in the car. Prosecutors say that's when she began arguing with this man, 32-year-old Jeremy Brown, who was also inside ordering food at the time.
Okay. So apparently she started the argument, right? Now we know the charges have been dropped against both. And I agree with the charges being dropped against the son. What I don't agree with is the mother not being charged with reckless endangerment of a minor. Okay. On top of that, fleeing the scene of a crime. Okay. Now, as I said, if this was another black man who was defending himself and he shot this man and he left this, and the man was running away, okay, and he then shoots him in the back, right? Those police detectives would have charged that black man still with murder. Because you know what they would have said? Listen, we understand, you were protecting yourself, you were being assaulted. That's fine. You shot him. That's fine. Okay? But the minute he turned around and started walking away or running away, and you continue to shoot him in the back, he's no longer a threat to you. Why continue to do that? And then on top of that, you left the scene. But I want you to understand how these racists on the police force and the state working hand in hand to give these hyena women this belief, this false belief in this false sense of power that they can have over black men. Okay? And also, the mother texts her son. Okay? She could have simply just walked out of the restaurant. But no, but these are the men in skirts, the men in dresses, right? The hyena women with their pseudo penises. Right? This is who we as black men are dealing with. Right? This is who they have conditioned a lot of our sisters, mothers, friends, female friends to be like. Think like a man, talk like a man, walk like a man, be a man. You are the man in the house. Our sisters and mothers and daughters, but I wouldn't even say daughters because I think when black men, when black men are involved in their children's lives, okay, though they may not reside in the same home, they do have a positive impact. But when black men reside in the same home with their mother, raising their children, biological children, those children have more positive life outcomes. They are emotionally well balanced. They are academically doing well, right? And here's the thing. When children are living with their dads, their black fathers, those children have the same positive outcomes, life outcomes, as if they were living with both the mother and the father. Now, when kids are living with their mothers only, they have the worst outcomes later on in life. And you see, because the white racists know that this is true, they have been trying to change that reality, okay, by creating false narratives. And how do you think what this mother did looked in the eyes of black men? This woman just traumatized her son, and she has no clue of the damage that she's done. She has no clue. Why? Some of these hyena women would like to say, well, just because she's a woman, she don't got to shut up. It's men who shouldn't be arguing with women. Again, this is another false narrative that have been taught to these hyena women and European women by these white feminists. Okay, in not understanding a man's nature. Men are naturally aggressive. Men will naturally debate and argue. Okay. Meanwhile, in other culture, you see men arguing all the time. Here's the one thing you don't see as much: the women arguing with men. Because in other culture, right, the women are raised to be feminine, friendly, agreeable, and know how to cooperate with a man. But what have been done to particularly black women in America is to create a masculine mindset and mentality in order to divide and conquer as black men and black women. But black women as a whole are not aware and don't want to be aware of what is happening because a lot of them feel that men have failed them without ever thinking about the external circumstances in which black male and black boys face, whether it be in the educational system, in the job market, in the many different industries in which the white racists and the white racist institution and system have sought to deny or reduce black male participants. This is why you see within the past 2 decades this push from white corporate America to elevate some black women. And I say some because it's not a lot. But what the media have done is put a spin on it to make the rest of us think that is a lot more. So when they tell you that black women are the most educated, no, they're not. White women are the most educated. When they talk about black women uh, have the most college degrees, no, they don't. White women have the most college degrees, followed by white men, then black women. Yes, black women have more college degree than black men, but they don't have more college degree than black women, than sorry, white women. And when we tell them this truth, they don't want to accept it because they've been conditioned with this mindset in which the truth has become the enemy. See, once you can get a people to believe in the lies and the propaganda, you guys should read Edward Benet propaganda, right? Because Edward Benet is considered the father of propaganda. He wrote a book called Propaganda. You begin to understand and realize what's happening and what's going on, right? So let's look at how trauma affects uh, children. Okay, since we all want to clap and be uh, happy and excited that this young 14-year-old child shot and killed a man at the order of his mother. Okay, let's take a look at how trauma affects children. Okay, so this is from the National Library of Medicine. the biological effect of childhood trauma. Okay, so I know, and I hopefully a large majority of black people know this, but again, I said hopefully, you know, but trauma affects children in such a tremendous way. And this is something that, you know, those of us who understand certain things, particularly the system of racism that we live under, its methods and tactics, as Neely Fuller said, if you don't understand white supremacy and what it entails, everything will just confuse you. And for the most part, most of us are confused when it comes to white understanding. I don't like to say white supremacy, but white racism and white racists. Okay, so the individuals as well as the institution and the systemic racism, right? And that these sort of trauma, particularly that we as black people face, is intentional. It is perpetrated on us. It is not by coincidence. It's not an act of God, right? And so we must understand that. So instead of just looking things from our individual perspective, we need to look at a broader perspective, right? As Dr. Ray Higgins talks about your circle of awareness, right? And expanding uh, circle of awareness, right? And so the more knowledge you have, the more understanding you have, the more wisdom you gain, the more your circle of awareness expands, right? Your circle of knowledge expands. Your circle of understanding expands. Your circle of wisdom expands. Okay. And let me just say this before I continue, I read this, some of this, is that the one thing that I know is that black women were called the wisest, most beautiful, most knowledgeable group of women in the ancient world. Black women. Today, that is not the case. As with racist ideology, racist systemic systems, they have sought to give us a backwards way of thinking with a belief system that is detrimental to our minds, that is detrimental to us as individuals and as a group of people. They have conditioned us to believe in lies, falsehood. They have manipulated us into blaming ourselves for the things that they've created, that they implemented, that we are victims of, and exhibiting the symptoms of this covert war against us, whether it be psychological, whether it be biological, whether it be chemical, whether it be economics. So I want you to understand that we are not the people who we once were. And those of us who have become awakened, excuse me, uh, this is why they sought to redefine the word woke. Okay, it isn't the far right that's doing this, co-opting a word that we used in the 90s to say to each other, hey, you're a woke brother, you're a woke sister, meaning that you understand the system of white supremacy, you understand the history of your people, okay? Not just from when our ancestors were enslaved, but beyond that. You understand that the black man and the black woman were and still is the creators of humankind, civilizations, far exceeding that of our European cousins. that before there was such a thing in today's society as equality for women, our African brothers and sisters, our ancestors had that already. It was something that was natural to them. It was something that they practiced. Women were not uh, thought of as a being that you just impregnate and they bore you children and they're relegated to the side. Okay? We did not eat our women as food as our European cousins. But yet they have us believing that we were cannibals. Okay? While our European cousins were in caves waiting out the ice age, the last ice age, our ancestors were building the greatest ancient civilizations ever. We had women rulers, queens that they don't teach us about, and that we know. When we try to teach it to others, they don't want to hear it. Their minds have so far been conditioned to the point where they don't want to hear the truth. Okay? So for those who think because I'm not engaging in the partying, the applaud of this young child being told by his mother to kill the man. See, once it goes from protection to now premeditated murder, that's where I don't disagree. I don't agree with you. And I will disagree with you on every level. Okay? So, one of the things that get close to my mic. So one of the things again I'm talking about is how trauma affect children. Okay, trauma in childhood is a grave psychological, medical, and public policy problem that has serious consequences for its victim and for society. Chronic interpersonal violence in children is common worldwide. Developmental traumatology, the systemic investigation of the psychiatric and psychobiological effect of chronic overwhelming stress on the developing child, provides a framework and principle when empirically examining the neurobiological effect of pediatric trauma. Now, remember, he's 14 years old. He's still a child. Be it a teenager, but he's still a child. His brain has not been fully developed yet. His hormones are recently been activated. So imagine this child now having to go to sleep, recalling in his memory what transpired. Imagine this child waking up every night, screaming, crying. Now his grades begin to fail. Now in school he's having behavioral issues, right? No one is talking about that. See, y'all are happy to see a black man getting shot and killed, right? That's what you're happy about. But you're not thinking about this child, just as his mother was not thinking about her child. Okay? Despite the widespread prevalence of childhood trauma, less is known about trauma's biological effect in children as compared to adults with child trauma history. And even less is known about how these pediatric mechanisms underlie trauma's short term and long term medical and mental health consequences. This article focuses primarily on the peer reviewed literature of the neurobiological sequelae of childhood trauma in children and adults with histories of childhood trauma. We also review relevant studies of animal models of stress to help us better understand the psychobiological effect of trauma during development. Okay, but I'm not going to read all that. All right. So, trauma in childhood has serious consequences for its victim and for society. Right? See, what the white supremacists have done and the white feminists have done is to condition the minds of black women, a lot of them who I will call hyena women. It is a interesting video on YouTube. It's called uh, hyena females studio penis, and it sucks to be a hyena male. Okay, and I got that from the YouTube content creator Chantal Simone, who did a very funny take, but uh, did a good breakdown of how it relates to black women in our communities and the children that they raise. Okay, so childhood trauma is defined according to the Diagnostic and Statistical Manual of Mental Disorder 4 and 5 as exposure to actual or threatening death, serious injury, or sexual violence. This includes experiences of direct trauma exposure, witnessing trauma, or learning about trauma that happened to a close friend or relative. So, for example, when a young child is shot and killed, take a young black child, his classmates, upon hearing it, suffer trauma. His siblings, younger siblings, are suffering trauma. Okay, the adults are suffering trauma. This is why you see on social media and in the news, they're constantly showing you the death of black men and black women, young black men and black women, and you're always hearing about it because, again, they understand that once those things are broadcast and we watch it, be it through social media or uh, um, the media at large, that is a traumatic experience for black people, even if you have no relation to the victim. Because when it's constantly you see black people being killed, being assaulted within the society, right? It is a traumatic experience. Remember, this is a program. This is not done uh again without these racists and this racist system not knowing what they're doing. They know what they're doing. Okay? They most certainly know what it is that they are doing. The question is, do we understand and know what they're doing? Okay? So, this includes experiences of direct trauma exposure, witnessing trauma, or learning about trauma that happened to a close friend or relative. In children, motor vehicle accidents, bullying, terrorism, exposure to war, child maltreatment, physical, sexual, and emotional abuse, neglect, and exposure to domestic and community violence are common types of childhood traumas that result in distress, post traumatic stress disorder, PTSD, and post traumatic stress symptoms, PTSS. Childhood traumas, particularly those that are interpersonal, intentional, and chronic, are associated with greater rates of PTSD, PTSS, depression and anxiety, antisocial behavior, and greater risk for, for alcohol and substance use disorders. The traditional categorical cluster of symptoms that form the diagnosis of PTSD are each associated with differences in biological stress symptoms and brain structure and function, and are thought to individually contribute to delay in or deficit of multi-system developmental achievement in behavioral, cognitive, and emotional regulation in traumatized children and lead to PTSS and comorbidity. Thus, we examine PTSD as a dimensional diagnosis encompassing a range of pathological reaction to severe stress rather than as a dichotomous variability. Variable. All right. So again, it tells you how traumatic, right, stress and other form of trauma can lead not only to developmental issue, learning ability, right, or cognitive ability, but emotional regulation. All right. That young 14-year-old boy or child going forward will likely suffer from PTSD, right? Or PTSS. Why is no one talking about that? Why is everybody so fixed? Excuse me. Jeez. Uh, get a drink here. So why is nobody talking about what this child went through and most likely what he will continue to go through and possibly develop PTSD? Okay. And again, trauma is something that should not be taken lightly. All right. Developmental traumatology is systemic investigation of the psychiatric and psychobiological effect of chronic overwhelming stress on the developing child, provides the framework used in this critical review of the biological effect of pediatric trauma. Remember, he's a child, okay? But we, not, I shouldn't say we, but most of these hyena female and males don't ever seem to think about that, right? They're happy that this young child shot a hyena male, okay? But this is the desensitization of the killing of black men, particularly black men, okay? And again, the white racists and the black feminists will try to use that to spin their lies about uh, black men are the greatest threat to black women, which is a lie. But we have been conditioned to love the lie and hate the truth, or love the people who tell us lies and hate the people who tell us the truth. We are the only group of people who are conditioned that way. This field builds on the foundation of developmental psychopathology, developmental neuroscience, and stress and trauma research. The DSM-4 diagnosis of PTSD is made when criterion a type A trauma, is experienced and when three clusters of categorical symptoms are presented for more than 1 month after the traumatic events. These three clusters are criterion B, intrusive re-experiencing of the trauma; criterion C, persistent avoidance of stimuli associated with the trauma or traumas; and criterion D, persistent symptoms of increased physiological arousal. These criteria are complex, and each criterion is thought to be associated with uh, this regulation of at least one major biological stress system, as well as several different brain circuits. This makes both the psychotherapeutic and the psychopharmacological treatment of individuals with early trauma complex and challenging. Okay? Criterion symptoms have an experimental basis in classical and operant conditioning theory. Now, I did a video on our conditioning using operant conditioning, um, but of course, my video was again sabotaged. I usually monitor my videos when I'm doing them, and when I took my headphones off my head, when I went back to watch the rest of the video, I was having sound cutting out, all the stuff, which I wasn't experienced, while monitoring, uh, you know, the video in the beginning as I was doing it. But I talk about black people as a whole being conditioned with what is called operant conditioning. Now, what is operant conditioning? Now, operant conditioning is a term coined by psychologist um, B.F. Skinner. Okay, and what that conditioning is the reinforcement of rewards and punishment. For example, we do this all the time. We raise our kids. When they behave good, we give them a reward. When they behave bad, we may give them a negative uh, um, punishment, right? So, for example, you go tell your child to clean their room. They clean it. We say, okay, you know what? Since you clean your room, you can play a game for, a couple hours, or you may stay up till a certain time. When they don't do as we say, we may punish them, whether we give them a spanking or we take away certain things from them, right? But what they've done to us, what the white racists have done to us, the psychological condition to create within our minds the the uh, the mindset of menticide, okay, is to reward the bad negative behavior and punish the good behavior. So, for example, we see within rap music, we see how how even more so destructive the lyrics have become, but those are the people who are being rewarded, right, by those in the music industry who likes to sell black dysfunction, which they've created, and reward black dysfunction to a certain degree, right? And then they put it out there in the mainstream for black people to consume, right? Which in turns create this operant condition in the minds of our young people, to where now they're seeing that, hey, behaving in this negative way or this negative behavior, I'll get rewarded, right? And when we see artists who are pushing a more positive message, they don't get exposure, right? They don't get invested into, right? So that is a punishment to any up and coming young artist who wants to take a different route from the negative uh, uh, lyrics, the negative content. So now these young artists who want to push more positive message are unable to or don't want to, because again they know that if they do, they will be punished for that. So again, operant condition, except within black people and the creation of the mental side in our psyche, the use of a negative, or what I would call a dark um, projection, meaning that who white people think in their mind of who we are, they're going to make us who they say and think we are in their mind. And they're going to make that into a reality for us. So that they can say to the rest of the world, look, these black people are exactly what we say they are. Okay? So we have to understand that. And we have to, for those of us who understand, who realize what's going on, have to be the ones uh, pushing the education amongst our young people, giving them the knowledge, the information, so that they don't repeat what we went through and what a lot of us continue to go through. Okay? All right. So, let's see, where was I? Talk about operating conditioning. All right. So, um, criterion symptoms have an experimental basis in classical and operating conditioning theory, where animals learn to generalize behaviors based on previous experience or reinforcement. And in animal models of learned helplessness, where animals under condition of uncontrollable shock do not learn escape behaviors. This is who we've become as black people. We have we've exhibited and have what is called learned helplessness, right? With no mechanism to escape. Why? Because we are put financially at the bottom. There aren't a lot of black psychologists, sociologists who have a forward thinking mindset, right? Not all. I said we have some, right? But not all. But this is most who don't have the mindset of bringing us out of this negative conditioning. But because most are too busy trying to integrate within the society or within organizations that don't want them there, that's what they think about. And there are others who will form, like the Black Association of Psychologists. Some may form other different organizations. But their goal, again, is not to create a program to counter the white racist program and conditioning. It is to say, look, we are just as good. And they will compete with each other, the white, psychiatrists and psychologists, sociologists against these European black psychologists and sociologists in order to see, well, who can develop a better program to keep us as black people under the same condition, right? And even create more menticide within the minds of their very own people. Okay? That self love for themselves as a black people is not there. Because if it was there, they would have gotten together to create programs in which to help black people recondition our minds to a more positive uh, one that will have positive outcomes. Okay? We're not doing that as a group. Okay? So, um, and like I said, that they do not learn escape behavior and have exaggerated fear response as well as social isolation and poor health. Who are the most isolated people within the society? Who are the most who have poor health in the society? Okay. For example, cluster B re-experiencing and intrusive symptoms can best be conceptualized as a classically conditioned response that is mediated by the serotonin system and is similar in some ways to recurrence recurrent intrusive thoughts experienced in obsessive compulsive disorder, where serotonin and norepinephrine transmitter deficit plays an important role. An external or internal condition stimuli, the traumatic trigger, And I also talk about anchors and triggers because we love to say that's a trigger, but we don't fully deeply understand why certain things are a trigger. Okay, all right. Maybe we do in terms of uh, our experience, but there are triggers that are built into us that are unrecognized by us. Okay, uh, activates unwanted and distressing, recurrent and intrusive memory of the traumatic experience. Okay, so I'm going to stop right here and let's talk about this 14-year-old child. Okay, so this child, again, who was told to shoot this man by his mother, and as the man is fleeing, his mother tells him to shoot him until he's dead. Okay, and then the mother then takes her son and drove off. Right? Didn't wait for the police to come to explain her side of the story. Right? And again, she is trained with the firearm use, not her son, but yet she texts her son. And I would like to see the text message. What did she text to her son? Hey, bring the gun, you know, um, and again, she was arguing. So she had enough time to text her son, who was in the car, to get the gun and come into the restaurant. Okay? No one is talking about that. She could have just walked away. But like I said, these women, they want to be men. And just as two men arguing, the two masculine energy meet, it's going to be explosive. But because our women have been taught that to be masculine is how they should be, while in other groups of people, the women are not taught to be masculine. They were not taught to be feminine. Right? And again, women, black women who claim to be so smart, so intelligent, who have the most college degree and this all of this stuff, right? Why they don't use their smartness, and I'm not gonna say intelligent, but their smartness. And I'm not degrading or putting down women. I'm just saying women like this, they're not intelligent. And I've said before, women, black women in the ancient world, I wouldn't even say ancient, but before colonization, were considered to be the wisest of all women. And now look what they've become. Okay? And they are basking in their ignorance, in their tomfoolery, twerking all over the damn place. What are they teaching their young children? Okay? Like I said, 80% of young children are raised in households run by single mothers. Okay? And as a black man with children, I take from my own experience that a lot of our women are all about themselves, what they want. And they are sacrificing their children, our children, for their selfishness, right? Um, their thought cultures, the dysfunction, and they are raising dysfunctional children, particularly male children. Okay? So this child now, because of this experience of what just happened, will need some serious counseling. Okay? Because he is traumatized by what happened. So if his grades starts to suffer, you know why. If he start having behavioral issues, you know why. Okay? Why? Because his mother wanted to be a man and argue with a man, and it ended up into where the other man punched her. Okay, so my heart goes out to this young child, not to the mother, because she used him. And see, this is the creation of these so-called son husbands, because these women do not know how to cooperate with a man. That now they're making their sons into their husband. Okay, instead of these young boys and girls, these young boys in particular, enjoying their teenage years or their childhood, just as a lot of these single mothers with girl children will have them raising their younger siblings while the mother go out there, party, do whatever she wants to do, right? Basically denying these young children the right to be children. And no one is talking about that. No one is talking about that. Okay? So when the state have basically create an agenda, siding with mothers, particularly hyena women, black women, in which they can commit all sorts of crimes and get away with it. What they're doing is, again, creating this false sense of power, this false sense of not being held accountable. This is why most black women today don't want to be held accountable for their actions. And when you try to correct them, they cannot be corrected. They are given the impression that they can do whatever it is that they want, and nothing will happen to them. Okay, let's move to this video where you have a Bronx mom, right, literally abusing her children.
Apartment. CBS 2's Naveen Dhaliwal has more on how that little girl is being remembered tonight in Morrisania.
Let me stop.
Child endangerment after her 6-year-old daughter was found dead in their apartment. CBS 2's Naveen Dhaliwal has more on how that little girl is being remembered tonight in Morrisania.
A memorial in the lobby of East 165th Street has grown to the outside. Candles in the shape of a J to remember little Jalea, who was so loved.
She was the sweetest girl I ever met in my life.
Tayana Crawford could barely hold back the tears as she spoke about the 6-year-old.
And see, here's the thing too, that a lot of these neighbors, they know what was going on. They absolutely know what was going on. Okay? But they let it happen. They let it happen. Right? So again, I don't want to hear this nonsense about oh well, she might have been going through depression, because women, particularly black women, co-sign each other bullshit. They do. If a man is going through depression, something just happened, he's plastered all over the internet. Oh, look at this monster, this and that. No concern that this man was going through depression or having mental illness. But these women are allowed to have mental illness. They're allowed to have other things that's going on. And so when they take the life of their children, there's always the excuse. Even when the social worker came to this woman home and she saw the messiness, the filth, they didn't come in and remove the children from her. They left the children with her. And you want to know why? Because most of these social workers that come to these apartments are black women. Okay? And instead of getting their mom the help that she needs, they're ignored. They're ignored. Meanwhile, these children are living in traumatizing environment, and situations created by their mothers.
Shared these memories from a few years ago.
She was just so sweet, like always wanted to give me a hug, show me love, give me affection. Like those things I'll never forget.
2 days after the little girl was found dead in her 12th floor apartment, police say with marks on her body and wrists, her mother, 26-year-old Linnea Eason, is now charged with child endangerment.
No problems, like.
Okay, child endangerment, not murder. Okay, not murder now. Child endangerment.
I just don't understand.
But clearly, there was something wrong. Police say 2 other children, an 8-year-old boy and 3-year-old girl, also in the apartment, both had signs of bruising and ligature marks indicating restraints. The 8-year-old even told police his mother had hit him in the past.
Okay, so she was physically abusing her children. Okay? And so again, what do you see? You see the state along with the racist police. Because I tell you, if this was a black man now, he'd be charged with not just only child endangerment, but murder and a whole list of other charges that they would find. Right? But you see, again, our women, particularly the hyena women, don't quite understand because again, they're conditioned to believe and act and think in a certain way. No accountability for what they're doing, what they've done to their children. Okay? They're the ones that are creating the monsters. They're the ones that are creating the dysfunctional adult male and female. It's not to say that the black men don't play a part in it by not being a part of, and I'm sure, like I said, I'm not even going to say that because again, it's not true. But sometimes as a black man, you kind of feel powerless because you know the power of the state and you know the state and these women are colluding together. All right. Because they will put you in jail quicker than they put her in jail. Okay. And she's the abuser. This is another thing we don't talk about. So when they want to talk about domestic violence, it is women. 70% of domestic violence are instigated by women. But it's the men who end up getting arrested. Okay? A lot of women believe that they can put their hands on a man, but a man cannot put their hands on them. And when a man complains about being abused by a woman, his woman or his wife, he gets laughed at. Okay? I've seen women post stuff about what kind of man is he if he let a woman abuse him. That's not a man, and he deserved it. Imagine as a man, we say something like that to a woman. Hmm? Understand the game that's being played. And our children are suffering because of it. Our women are lost psychologically, sexually, physically, health wise. The vast majority of black women are overweight or obese. And then we as black men are being told that we should just accept them that way when we know those very same women who are overweight or obese won't even date a man that's overweight or obese. They won't even look at a man that's overweight or obese as a potential partner. But we have to accept all of that, all of their negative traits, their negative behavior, their negative mindset. And when we speak the truth, then they flip it around on us and saying we're being negative. No, we're being honest. You just been taught to believe and love the lies at your own detriment and the detriment of your community and of your children and of the men who are your counterparts. Okay? All right, let's go to another story where you have a 14-year-old girl, okay, who instigated and set up the murder of a 15-year-old boy. Okay? And you have a 19-year-old man who she, right, manipulated into committing the murder. Two decades ago, you would never hear anything like that happen. And then you had another, it was a 12-year-old girl who used two teenagers to try to murder a young uh, teenage boy. She planned the whole thing. The bus route, what stop he's going to get off on, all this stuff. Again, here you have children being raised by single mothers. This is the outcome. So when they try to tell you that single women, or not single women, single mothers, they should be proud to be a single mother. No, don't fall for that. It is a lie that they have been trying to indoctrinate within the minds of single mothers while ignoring the reality. And the reality is that single mothers are the most stressful. They're the poorest. Okay, they have the most mental illness. See, they're not telling you that. They're not telling you the truth. They're telling you a bunch of lies, and you believe in it. Okay.
Meanwhile, today, a 14-year-old girl and a 19-year-old man are in jail accused of murder after a deadly shooting on Indy's West Side. Tonight, our Jesse Wells explains what may have motivated that violence.
According to court records, the 14-year-old female suspect confessed to police that she arranged to meet the 15-year-old victim here on this street to buy some marijuana. The teen then helped police identify the 19-year-old accused of pulling the trigger.
Can you believe that? Can you believe that? You see, again, I gotta talk about the lies and the deception and how these hyena females, black hyena females, are manipulated with lies by these black feminists, these black feminist LGBT undercovers, okay, who infiltrate certain positions within the society, who are predatory in nature because they want to create other lesbians or bisexual women. They have a predatory way of thinking and behavior pattern. Okay? No matter what they tell you, this is what they do. This is why black women today, a lot of them, because again, they've been taught not to, they haven't been taught how to cooperate with a man, and it's what they want, not what the man want now. Okay? They don't know how to compromise. They don't know how to listen to men, but only to tell men what it is that they want. And when they don't get it, because again, they're not looking at themselves and the issues that they bring into the relationships, and they blame the man. Right? Then they turn around and, oh, well, we hate men now. So now we're going to go on girls' trip. I don't know what happens on girls' trips. The same sex activities, the orgies and all this stuff. These European hyena females have been taught to liberate themselves through their sexuality. And what that has led to is, is a destruction of their emotions, of their peer bonding ability to bond with a mate, whether it be male or female, to always want to live in a fantasy and to ignore their reality. Okay? And it's sad. It's sad, right? But again, here is the reality for black women. Okay? You see, I just did a Google search. All right. As female imprisonment rises, black women still feel the blunt. No, sorry for that. All right, let's get to another article. I usually do, but not right now. Let's go to the National Catholic website online. Okay? Black women bear the brunt of mass incarceration. See, like I said, they're telling you and allowing you to do, and again, this is just a few black women that are allowed to do these things and get away with it, to give the masses of black women the idea that they can do whatever they want and not be held accountable or have a little accountability as possible. But the reality do not reflect what they have been conditioned to believe. Okay? And on top of that, you should go and get the book. The book is called uh, give me a sec here. Yeah, I let me say, like I said, I do my research. You know, I don't talk, I don't do things based on my own opinion, because when I am speaking to you, I do this video, I want to bring the facts and I want to make sure you understand the fact. Because if I tell you lies and you believe the lies that I tell you, and then you go out there based off of the lies that I tell you and act and behave in a certain negative way, then I'm to blame. But if I tell you the truth and you refuse to listen now, and you go out there and you do the things that I've said for you not to do, because again, this is the truth and this will happen, and you do it anyway, then I'm not going to hold myself accountable or responsible. That's on you. Okay. So get the book by uh, Andrea J. Ritchie. It's called Invisible No More. Police Violence Against Black Women and Women of Color. Okay. See, those same police that are not holding some black women accountable, because again, it is a program and they know exactly what they're doing, but they are holding the vast majority of black women who engage in criminal activities accountable. Okay, but you don't hear about it. They keep it out of the news. They keep it out of social media. But this is what's happening. Black women are 5 times more likely to be incarcerated than white women. Okay? But these are things that they're not telling you. And the media will always focus on black men, incarceration rate of black men, even though that number has dropped down significantly. And more black men are now going to college, are now earning their degrees, right? But that's not what they want to push. When it comes to black men, it's always going to be a negative agenda. Okay? When it comes to and black men will always be held accountable, whether we did the crime or not, whether it is our fault or not. We're always going to be held accountable. It is black women, particularly these hyena women, who are not held accountable. Okay? So, again, let's read some of this. It says In a February 4th online panel hosted by the Georgetown University Initiative on Catholic Social Thought and Public Life, I'm not sure if I'm pronouncing her name right, but Steb and other speakers discussed how the criminal legal system disproportionately harms Black women and proposed looking for alternative to incarceration that balance accountability with forgiveness and dignity. Women are often ignored in discussion incarceration because they only make up around 10% of the 2.3 million people incarcerated in the US, according to the Prison Policy Initiative. But the female prison population has exploded in the past few decades. Between 1980 and 2019, the number of women in prison shot up by more than 700%, from roughly 26,400 to almost 222,500, according to a report by the Sentencing Project. Black women are incarcerated at almost twice the rate of white women, the report says. Okay? So why are they not talking about it? Right? Why the mainstream media is not addressing that? They'll talk about black men. You hear these white feminists, men and women, and these black feminist men and women get up there and they talk about the black male imprisonment, incarceration rate, and all this stuff. But there's a reason why they are not saying this. Okay, there's a reason why they're not talking about black women incarceration rate. There's a reason why they're not talking about the police violence against black women. Okay, they're not saying it. Yeah. So again, they're not talking about this stuff. Right. Over the past quarter century, there have been a profound change in the involvement of women with the criminal justice system. This is a result of more expansive law enforcement effort, stiffer drug sentences law, and post-conviction barriers to reentry that uniquely affect women. The female incarcerated population stands over 6 times higher than in 1980. Over half, 50%, of imprisoned women in state prison have a child under the age of 18. Between 1980 and 2021, the number of incarcerated women increased by more than 525%, raising from a total of 26,326 in 1980 to 168,449 in 2021. Right? So again, this even the numbers here are a little different than the other article that I read from, where it was over 200,000. Okay. While 2020 saw a substantial downsizing due to the COVID-19 pandemic, this trend reversed with a 10% increase in 2021. All right. So here's a chart that tells you, give you, the increase in incarcerated women. Right. Let's go by the race and ethnicity in prison. In 2021, the imprisonment rate of black women, 62 per 100,000, was 1.6 times the rate of imprisonment for white women, 38 per 100,000. Latinx women were imprisoned at 1.3 times the rate of white women, 49 versus 38 per 100,000. The rate of imprisonment for black and Latinx women has declined since 2000, while the rate of imprisonment for white women has increased. So again, here they're saying that the imprisonment rate for white women has increased. That means it was lower than 38%. Okay? And the rate for black women was even higher. So now it's 62 per 100,000. Okay? So what they're doing here is what is called double speak. And again, there's a book, again, I like to recommend that you guys read. It's called Doublespeak. Okay? And it shows you how when the media reports certain things, whether it be print media and news media, how they do things in a way in which to negate or neglect certain aspect of what they just said. Right? So for example, when they say to you that the the um the rate of imprison the where while the rate of imprisonment for white women has increased, right? You would think that, oh, okay, well, are more white women being imprisoned than black and Latinx women? No, it just means that their number was lower than what it is today, which is 38 per 100,000. So it might have been in a 20 something. And the 62 per 100,000 for black women was actually higher. Okay. And the 49 per 100,000 for Latinx women were actually higher. Okay. So again, you have to have that level of discernment when you're reading things because this again, these are all psychological tactics in print that they use. Okay. So again, get the book called Double Speak. I forgot the author's name, and I do have that book. I'm not going to look through my Kindle right now, but get that book. Propaganda by Eva Benet. Um, what's the book I just told you guys about? Um, Invisible No More, right? This is police violence against black women and women of color, right? And Doublespeak, okay? I forgot the author's name, right? So again, right? So anyway, between 2000 and 2021, the rate of imprisonment in state and federal prisons declined by 70% for black women, right? While the rate of imprisonment for white women rose by 12%. Don't understand this. It says between 2000 and 2021, the rate of imprisonment in state and federal prison declined 70% for black women, while the rate of imprisonment for white women rose by 12%. So I just read you the numbers where it says 62 per 100,000. So add 70% onto that 100,000, right? And then you will get how large the number of black women were incarcerated between 2000 and 2021. Like I said, within the past 2 decades. Okay. And because of COVID, that trend, you know, kind of went down slightly, but that's still almost 2 times the rate of white women. So again, as I talk about, I love my sisters. Let me say, don't think I don't because I may call out some of the BS that goes on. Just as I would hope my sisters will call out some of the BS that goes on with us black men. But we must be honest and truthful. We can't go by our anecdotal experience and thinking that's everyone. We can't go by what the media tells us because we know the media lies. So it's up to each and every one of us to do our research. Okay. I am never offended when I'm being corrected by a black woman. Okay? Because to me, that's what she's supposed to do. And then that shows me that she has my best interest at heart. But black women have been taught that if a black man tries to correct them, that he's against black women. Okay? Which is not true. Black men are not against black women. This is what the media has told you guys. They have lied to you guys in order what because they understand how they're conditioning you. They understand that they're conditioning you with this mindset of not being held accountable, hypersexualizing yourself, uh, learning and believing in things that are ignorant in nature, that are not true, and to love feeling good by being told lies. Oh, well, no one can disturb my happiness. This is what I call woman empowerment. This is what these hyena women would say while they're shaking their asses on social media, talking about this is what freedom looks like. But how come you don't see white women doing that? How come you don't see white women shaking their ass on social media talking about this is what women empowerment is? This is what freedom for white women looks like. How come you don't see the Asian woman doing the same? How come you don't see the Arab woman doing the same? How come you don't see the vast majority of Latinx women doing the same? Right? But you see a large portion of black women doing this, right? That they're even now going to Africa, visiting the slave dungeons, the slave castles in which their ancestors were put in to be chained and put onto ships to become enslaved people. And they're talking about twerking for the ancestors. It is a destructive mindset, right? And as I said, for black women who don't want that type of image to represent who they are, you guys need to speak out. You guys need to nip it in the bud. I'll tell you what, if some white teenagers or young women doing stuff like that, I can guarantee you, white men and white women will call them out on it and shut them down. Okay? It is time for black women to stand up. Those who have dignity, those who have respect for themselves and each other, to stand up. Those who care for their community, who care for black men, who are not conditioned to hate black men and see black men as the enemy, because we are not the enemy. Okay? Just remember, this war is mainly perpetuated on black men. And for black men today, brothers my age who become understanding and more awakened to what's going on, we are trying to turn this around. But if the vast majority of women are unwilling to listen, then the white supremacists have successfully destroyed our nation as people and will continue to destroy the next generation of young black boys and girls who will grow into becoming young black men and black women. Okay? And I, for one, will always push back. I will always advocate for black men, and I will always advocate for black women. Right? But I will not. One thing I will not do is I will not feed delusional BS to black women. Just as how you can call out black men are going to call you out. And that's the way it should be. Okay? Start accepting the truth instead of ignoring it. All right? And to this young man, as I spoke in the beginning, sorry, not young man. I have to keep, because again, it's how we're conditioned. We see our teenage kids as men and women. I don't. As this young child, this young teenage boy, who will go through the rest of his life traumatized by what took place because his mother, okay, wanted to be a man arguing with a man, texting him that she never thought about his best interest, but she thought about herself and how she hated black men. Because as per what every news outlet said, even Witness, she's the one that started the argument. Okay? So in no way was she thinking about her son. All right? So, like I said, I can totally accept the fact that, with that first shot fired, I can say, okay, fine, he was protecting his mother. But the minute that man walked out of that restaurant and started walking away, and then she told her son to shoot him until he's dead, I'm not going to accept that. And you're not going to make me accept that. It will never happen. Because then, right there, she turned her son, her child, into a stone cold killer. And then wanted him to shoot the woman that was laughing. And you guys think that she's a good mother. Hmm? You guys really think that she's a good mother. And this is a problem that we have in our community today. I went to my son graduation from he's graduating from middle school. Let me tell you, and the majority of the children, young teenagers that were called onto the stage who were given academic rewards, the vast majority were young black teenage girls. There were about maybe I would say out of the 20 something awards that was given out, only three were given to young teenage boys. Okay, when I look around in the stands, predominantly single mothers. Okay, yeah, there's a war on black boys and black men. It's been ongoing. Okay, and for us as black men, we have to uh, stress to our children the importance of academics. Okay, and I know it's hard because a lot of us are not in the homes with our children. So they spend the majority of their time with their mothers. And I'll tell you what, those mothers who have girls, okay, they are pushing academics among their girls. And then those that have boys, not so much. Not happening. Okay. But we're gonna see a trend going forward now where you see young teenage girls now are going to be uh, the ones who are going to be you're going to see an increase in the juvenile facilities where you're going to see a large number of young black girls, teenage girls, being incarcerated in those juvenile facilities. All right. So that being said, we have a lot of work to do. We do. Not everyone's going to like our message. Those of us who are speaking the truth, and that's fine. That's okay. But as long as we keep speaking the truth, we keep showing the proof, giving the evidence, so this is what's happening, this is what's continuing to take place. I know for a fact that the our sisters, those who truly want to have better relationship with their men and their children, they will listen. Okay, and despite the name callings that these black feminist women will call us for speaking the truth, as if me speaking about this is condoning violence against women. Because that's what they say. Even though in no shape or form do I condone violence against women. I've never put my hands on a woman, but I've had women put their hands on me. Okay, and that's most black men. We've dealt in relationship with women put their hands on us, and we've done nothing. We walked away with our shirt tore up, scratches on our face, you know, right? But they've made them believe that uh, we are their biggest threat. We both share a common enemy, black men and black women, and that's white men. That's the Asian women, the Asian men. That's the Hispanic women, the Hispanic men. Because we as black people, we have no friends. Okay, we have each other. Now, if they continue to divide and separate each of us, what you're going to have now is men turning away from women, and women have already started to turn away from men by getting involved in these same-sex relationships because they don't want to deal with their trauma. They don't want to seek therapy and get the help that they need. They're highly delusional in terms of what kind of man they're looking for, not understanding the reality, right, of getting that kind of man. And what man that you want that is masculine, that is healthy, workout, six pack, all of that stuff, wants an obese woman. So you see, women want men to change, but women don't themselves don't want to change, particularly our sisters, right? Because they've been conditioned into thinking that we should just accept them, all the toxicity, all the BS that they bring, that they involve in. We should just accept that. But they will never accept that from us. So I always say, if you expect someone to be a certain way, and if that person expect you to be a certain way, then you guys should make every effort to be what each other want. Okay? Don't ask of others what you can't give yourself. That's what I always say. All right? So, talk to you guys in the next video.